Hello, everyone. This is Dakota Campbell, and today I will be presenting to you my conservation biology project. This project is to help save sharks and keep them from extinction. All right. There are three problems that face the great white shark. First, their reputations are tarnished by the media. They are portrayed as a detriment to society, when in fact they are one of the most important species in the ocean. Next, our society thinks it's a good idea to fish for these creatures, and it leads to the overfishing of the shark population. Lastly, we need to work with professionals to develop a plan to ensure that these sharks are kept safe and can recover from vulnerability in the wild. All right. The Great White Shark Population Management Plan. My goal with this management plan is to change the way we in society view sharks. Most people tend to view sharks as an extreme threat to people when there are many more things that can cause harm to humans. The media tries to make sharks look like they want to kill humans when in fact it's the opposite. On average, we kill over 100 million sharks a year. The Great White Shark Intro. The shark's population decline has a ripple effect, throwing entire marine ecosystems out of balance. The sharks are at the top of the ecosystem in the ocean, so they influence every other creature that falls down the food chain. Sharks are often especially vulnerable to overfishing because of specific life characteristics, such as not mating until late in life and giving birth to small litters. This figure shows the amount of the decline in the shark population since the 1970s, and the great white shark is 79%. All right, the great white shark intro. Why save sharks? Sharks keep the ocean healthy because they keep different species from becoming overabundant. Also, sharks keep oceans clean by scavenging on dead animals. Sharks keep other species more fit by weeding out sick and weaker individuals. And the sharks are the keystone species. They keep the food chains intact in every ocean. They also keep diseases from spreading. By killing the weak, sick animals, the chance of disease spreading stops. So all the other animals in the ocean are affected positively. They make sure that the diseases can't spread to the other parts of the ocean, and this protects the coral reefs as well. Why are sharks so important? Coral reefs aren't pictured, but the sharks reach all the way down to the bottom of the ecosystem. Sharks are the most important species in the overall health of the oceans. Food chains work from top to bottom, so the sharks should be protected for the sake of protecting our oceans. As you can see in this figure, that the top predators are the large sharks, and they tend to feed on the tuna, the marlin, and then other smaller sharks. And this passes down to the rest of the ecosystem. As you can see, there's squid and mackerel, and there's smaller fish, and it reaches down to the zooplankton, the phytoplankton. The background of the great white shark. The white shark, also known as the great white shark or the white pointer, is a close relative to the mako and porbeagle sharks in the family Lambdidae. White sharks are long-lived, living for 30 years or more, and are found throughout temperate and subtropical regions in the northern and southern hemispheres. In the United States, the species are usually found in the subtropical states. Our examples are Florida, California, and Hawaii. And here's a figure to show that. The great white shark is the world's largest known predatory fish. It has 300 teeth, yet does not chew its food. Sharks rip their prey into mouth-sized pieces, which are swallowed whole. The shark's heavy torpedo-shaped body allows it to cruise efficiently for long periods of time, and then suddenly switch to high-speed bursts in pursuit of prey. It feeds on a broad spectrum of prey, from small fish such as halibut to large seals and dolphins, as you could tell in the last figure. The habitat degradation. All sharks depend on healthy ecosystems to survive and find prey. The habitat degradation includes effects from climate change, pollution, and destruction of areas such as mangroves and reefs. These areas are used for both breeding and finding prey, and they provide protected habitat for young sharks. In this figure, it talks about several things about sharks. It talks about how many are killed on annually, and that's around 100 million, rough estimate. And it talks about how we are the biggest threat to sharks and their survival. The biodiversity levels. The genetic diversity of sharks. The research on the DNA of white sharks around the South African coastline show that the population has extremely low genetic diversity. The depletion of genetic diversity among white sharks causes much struggle for them to reproduce successfully. Sharks don't reproduce until later in life, so this is a big dilemma facing all sharks. The biggest thing is there's many unknowns about sharks. We haven't been able to research them because the idea is that they're so dangerous, so people won't get out and actually research them. The ecology on the great white shark. All coastal ecosystems begin with photosynthetic organisms, which capture the radiant energy of the sun and package it in a form that other creatures cannot use. These plants are eaten by a wide variety of herbivores, which are eaten by carnivores, which in turn are eaten by larger carnivores. In this way, energy gets passed to even larger animals farther along the food chain, but energy is not transferred with perfect efficiency. As energy is passed from one trophic level to the next, about 90% of the energy is lost. Therefore, each trophic level has only a tenth as much living matter as the level below it. At the topmost trophic level, apex predators such as the great white shark reside. Although numerically scarce, apex predators are the cap on the entire ecosystem. Who else is working on this issue? In 2013, the Commonwealth of Australia came up with a recovery plan for the great white shark. WorldWildlife.org has been researching the species as they tag them and analyze the data received as the sharks travel off the coast of California. And InstinctForFilm.com also provided me with lots of information on the conservation efforts about the species. My management plan. My first objective is to change the perception that media has portrayed to people about great white sharks. As you can see in the movie Jaws, the great white sharks are pictured as big, monstrous predators that are only out to kill people, which in fact that's not true. Most of the time, whenever they attack people, it's because they believe they're seals, or they're triggered because of people are fishing in the area and there's bait that get their senses going, or in fact the people are bleeding, which also triggers the senses of the sharks. My second objective is work to get Congress and other lawmakers to stand firm with the laws about overfishing and to enforce them in a way that will protect the great white sharks. And my last objective, work with professionals to develop research projects to support conservation efforts of the great white shark. Alright, objective 1. The way I plan to change the overall perception of society on sharks is through education. I plan to meet with fish and wildlife agencies as well as other professionals to promote the great white shark in a positive way. If we can change the way people view sharks and educate them on ways to protect themselves from sharks, then the media can influence their thoughts on the great white. Alright, objective 2. These are part of some of the laws that have been passed to protect the great white shark. There's few and far between. There are more, but they really don't go all out to protect the sharks. This is good and all, but I would like to meet with legislators to discuss the overall effects that could occur if we don't get stricter guidelines to protect the great white sharks. There's laws in place, but it continues to happen. We need to make sure that we set out to protect these sharks in all ways to ensure that the ocean's protected all the way through. And my last objective. The reason we struggle to understand the biodiversity of their species is because we don't have enough people researching them. As we change the world's view of the species, more people will want to get out in the field to effectively research the ecology and diversity. Quantifying success. To measure the success of this project, we would want to see an annual decline of shark deaths by 1 million each year. This is a simple goal that would result in a little over 83,000 sharks saved per month. As this continues on for years and years, we can pull back on some of the laws that we've put in place, or we can add more, just depending on the way the sharks react to the laws. This just shows how many sharks are killed per year, and each little shark is 1 million. And an average of 4 shark attacks occur worldwide each year, fatal shark attacks. The biggest thing for us is to make sure that we can grow the population so we can expand the biodiversity of the sharks. With the growth in biodiversity of the sharks, then we can ensure that the sharks are less susceptible to diseases and changing environments. Once we tackle these issues, then we can assess other issues that are facing other species in the oceanic environment. And then here's my literature and graphics cited. Thank you.